Good morning and welcome everybody. Sunday,
Um,
February 16th, 9:59. We're logging on. That's just for record keeping.
Gotcha. All right, here they come. All right, we got Hippie Rick with us. Rick with us. We got Hunter with us. We got Trent. Let's see here.
There we are. Yeah, I see them all popping
We
in
have
there.
got Mr.
Cool.
Green with us as well. Welcome, Mr. Green. Can you all hear us?
I can hear you.
Oh
Good
yeah.
morning. Good morning,
Hey, good
everyone.
morning.
Good morning. Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is,
Hey,
just real quick, my name is Patrick Dunnigan. I'm the director of Kentucky Cannabis Freedom Coalition. We want to welcome you all to our online town hall meetings that we host twice a week, Sunday mornings and Wednesday night. We appreciate everyone that has joined us. Just like the last couple of weeks, we're actually going to play some audio clips, an audio of an interview that we want everyone to pay attention to. This is how we are concreting this message into our legislators. So it's 15 minutes long. This will give people time to come in and enjoy and interact with the meeting. After that, we are going to go over a few slides and then we'll have a question and answer for you. And if we go too fast, you're welcome to ask us to slow down. Okay. So with that said, let's get this ball on the roll. Let's see here. Robert, can you see that?
I see it and I hear you.
All right, everyone, welcome back for another deep dive.
Good.
Today, we're going to be heading down south to Kentucky to take a look at something pretty interesting going on down there.
Yeah,
Cannabis reform.
absolutely. And we've got a whole lot to cover too. We've been looking through some legislative documents, getting intel from advocacy groups.
Oh, very cool.
And we've even got some data analysis to really get into the nitty gritty of what's going on and why folks should be paying attention.
Okay, so let's dive right into this, shall we? And listeners, you are in for a treat because Kentucky is potentially on the verge of something big, right? Like, we're not just talking about tweaking some minor laws here.
No, not at all. This is something much bigger, potentially even a constitutional amendment.
Whoa, really? A constitutional amendment?
Yeah, it's called HB 105,
Okay.
and it could actually let the people of Kentucky directly vote on cannabis decriminalization.
Okay, hold on. You're going to have to break this down for me because it's a pretty major development, a constitutional amendment.
Oh, for sure. For sure. So this HB 105, what it does is it guarantees adults 21 and older the right to possess, use, buy, or sell up to 1 ounce of cannabis.
Okay.
And they could even cultivate up to 5 plants for personal use,
Oh,
all without any criminal penalties.
so it's not just about legalization, it's about putting the power in the hands of Kentuckians to actually make this decision themselves.
Exactly.
I can see why you're so excited about this. It seems like a pretty big deal. But why go the route of a constitutional amendment? I mean, wouldn't just passing a regular law be enough?
Well, think about it this way. If they change the state constitution,
Yeah.
it's a much more permanent change. Future legislatures can't just come in and easily reverse it.
Oh, okay.
It's a way to really solidify this change and protect it for the people who support decriminalization.
Right, because it's literally written into the fabric of the state's laws.
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So we've got this bill, HB 105, potentially changing the game in Kentucky. But there's also a group that's been super vocal about pushing for this change.
Yeah, the Kentucky Cannabis Freedom Coalition.
The KCFC, I've heard of these guys. They've been making some noise.
Oh, yeah, they're doing some amazing work.
So what exactly is their role in all of this?
Well, they're a nonprofit advocacy group,
Okay.
and they're working totally within the legal system to educate the public about cannabis.
All right.
Dispelling those myths and advocating for common sense reforms like HB 105.
So they're not just about shouting from the rooftops. They're actually getting down to the nuts and bolts of making this happen.
Exactly. And they're really smart about it too. They have this initiative called Survey Says.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that.
Where they gauge public opinion,
Very cool.
to show that there's widespread support for change.
Sorry.
It's all about fostering open dialogue and really getting people talking about this issue.
I love that. All right, so we've got this potential game changer in HB 105. We've got the KCFC working hard to make it a reality, and it sounds like there's a lot of public support brewing. So let's say someone listening to this is totally fired up about this issue. Right. What can they actually do to help push HB 105 across the finish line?
Well, this is where things get really interesting because now it's all about the people.
Ooh, I like where this is going. This is about getting involved, right?
Absolutely. Since we're talking about a constitutional amendment, the legislature has to take action, right?
Right.
So the most impactful thing anyone can do is contact their representatives,
Okay.
especially their Republican representatives, and urge them to support and co-sponsor HB 105.
All right. So it's time for all you Kentuckians out there to pick up those phones and make your voices heard. We're talking about calling the legislative hotline,
Yes,
and that number is 1-800-372-7181.
get those calls going.
Don't be shy. Don't just call once.
No,
Make it twice a day,
exactly.
Monday through Friday,
Yeah.
between 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. Eastern time.
Every call makes a difference.
I love it. So this is about showing the Kentucky legislature just how much support there is for HB 105.
Absolutely. They need to see how important this is to the people they represent.
Right. Because every call is a message. It's a statement.
Exactly.
And this is your chance, Kentucky, to directly impact the future of cannabis in your state.
It's all about taking action.
So let's say someone is ready to make that call.
Yeah.
But they're thinking, hold on, how do I actually find my representative?
Okay, good question. It's super easy.
Okay.
For example, let's say your representative is Jared Bauman.
Okay.
You can email him directly at jared.bauman@kilegislature.gov.
All right. Super simple. Or if you're not sure who your representative is,
Right.
you can always call the Legislative Research Commission,
They're great.
or the LRC for short, at 502-564-810.
They'll hook you up with your representative's info in no time.
It's all about taking that first step, making that connection.
And remember,
Yeah,
don't underestimate the power of actually talking to your elected officials.
I love that. So we've laid out the roadmap. We've given you the tools.
Yep.
It's time for action, Kentucky. Let's make this happen.
I'm excited to see what happens next.
Me too. So we've
Mhm.
talked a lot about taking action and how important it is to reach out to your representatives. But let's take a step back for a second and look at what's actually happening on the ground in Kentucky.
Right. Like, what does the current cannabis landscape look like?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the data actually paints a pretty stark picture. The Kentucky Center for Economic Policy released a report, and it shows thousands of Kentuckians are facing cannabis related charges and convictions every year.
Wow, thousands. That's a lot of people.
Yeah. And you know what's really crazy? A lot of these are for minor offenses.
Like what? Just civil possession or something.
Exactly. Like, for example, Lyon County has a conviction rate of 11.9 per 1,000 residents.
Well, hold on. That sounds really high.
It is. That's more than 4 times the state average.
Wow, that's some pretty staggering numbers. It really makes you think about the human cost of all of this, you know?
Absolutely. Every charge, every conviction, it represents a real person whose life is being affected.
Right. It's not just a statistic, it's someone's job prospects, their housing, their right to vote, even.
Exactly. It's a ripple effect that goes way beyond just a possession charge.
So with HB 105 on the table, the one we were talking about earlier, the one that could decriminalize cannabis, do you think we could actually see a shift in those numbers? Like, could we see fewer charges and convictions?
Oh, I definitely think it's possible. Decriminalization could really take a lot of pressure off the justice system.
Right. So they could focus on more serious crimes.
Exactly. And think about it, decriminalization could actually lead to new industries,
Oh, yeah.
new jobs, more tax revenue. It could be a real boost to the Kentucky economy.
It's like a domino effect. All these positive impacts stemming from one change.
And it's not just economic benefits either. We could see positive social impacts as well. Well, think about it. Decriminalization could really help change public perception about cannabis,
Hmm.
help break down those negative stereotypes.
Yeah.
And that could lead to more community development, more understanding and acceptance.
I like it. So it's not just about individual freedom. It's about the entire state of Kentucky potentially benefiting from this.
Exactly. It's about creating a more just and equitable society.
Okay, so we've been talking a lot about Kentucky, but this isn't just happening in a vacuum, right? There's a whole national movement going on.
Oh, yeah, for sure. We're seeing a massive shift all across the country when it comes to cannabis.
It's like a domino effect. More and more states are joining the party.
Exactly. More states are legalizing or decriminalizing, and it's really putting pressure on others to reevaluate their own policies.
It's like, hey, if they can do it, why can't we?
Exactly. And that national momentum is putting Kentucky in a really interesting position.
Look at a crossroads.
Totally. They have HB 105 on the table. They've got the KCFC pushing for change. And now they've got all these other states showing them that it's possible.
So it's like a pivotal moment for Kentucky.
Yeah.
Where do they want to stand on this issue?
Exactly. Do they want to be part of this new wave of reform, or do they want to stay stuck in the past?
And that's why it's so important for people to contact their legislator.
Yes. They need to make their voices heard.
It's not just about saying yes or no to cannabis. It's about making sure these complex issues are being discussed.
Right. And that all sides are being heard.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we've talked about the KCFC and their role in advocating for HB 105, but they're also doing a lot of educational work, right?
Oh, absolutely. Their website is like a one-stop shop for all things cannabis.
Really?
They've got info on HB 105. They've got the latest research and news.
Wow.
They even have a Know Your Rights section, which is super helpful for anyone who's curious about cannabis in Kentucky.
It's like they're providing people with the tools they need to make informed decisions.
Exactly. And their whole data-driven approach is really effective.
Yeah. Like what the survey says initiative, they're showing that support for reform isn't just a bunch of people shouting. It's actually a widespread sentiment.
It's smart and it gives them a lot of credibility.
It's like they're speaking the language of facts and figures.
Exactly. And that's what policymakers need to see.
It's inspiring to see a group like that so dedicated to making a difference.
They're really putting in the work.
So we've been talking a lot about calling that legislative hotline.
Yeah, it's super important.
But are there other ways people can get involved with the KCFC and their efforts?
Oh, yeah, tons. Their website has a how to help section, and it's got all sorts of ways to contribute.
Awesome.
You can donate, you can sign up for their newsletter, you can even attend their events and connect with other people who are passionate about this issue.
So it's about finding what works for you, what you're comfortable with.
Exactly. And remember, every little bit helps.
It's all about collective action, right?
Absolutely. And change doesn't happen overnight, you know.
It's process.
The legislative process can be slow, it can be frustrating sometimes, but it's important to stay persistent
Keep those goals coming.
and stay informed. Keep up with what's happening with HB 105 and don't be afraid to speak your mind.
I love it. Okay, so before we move on, is there anything else about HB 105 itself that we haven't covered yet? Any interesting tidbits?
Oh, actually, there's another bill that's kind of connected to all of this. It's called HB 106.
Oh, really? What's that one about?
We don't have all the details yet, but it seems like it's addressing some of the potential consequences of decriminalization.
Like what?
Well, things like expunging past cannabis convictions
Oh, wow, that would be huge.
and protecting Second Amendment rights.
Okay, so it's like they're trying to anticipate some of the challenges that might come up.
Exactly. It's about being proactive and thinking about the bigger picture.
And expunging past convictions, that would be a game changer for so many people.
It would give people a clean slate, a chance to move forward without the stigma of a criminal record.
Exactly. And the Second Amendment part, that's an interesting one because federal law still prohibits cannabis users from owning firearms.
Right. Even in states where it's legal.
So it's like a clash between state and federal law.
It's a complex issue, and it's something that's going to need to be addressed as more states move towards cannabis reform.
It's like a whole other can of worms, but an important one to discuss.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. HB 105, the KCFC, the potential impacts of decriminalization.
It's a lot to process.
Yeah.
What are some key takeaways you want our listeners to remember?
Well, first and foremost, this issue is about way more than just cannabis.
Right. It's about so much more.
It's about individual freedoms, economic opportunities, social justice.
And it's about the role of government in our lives.
Exactly. And for Kentuckians, this is something that directly affects them.
The future of cannabis in their state is, in many ways, in their hands.
Exactly. So whether you're passionate about this issue or just starting to learn about it, your voice matters.
Get involved. Contact your legislators, especially your Republican representatives, and make your voice heard.
Every phone call, every email, it all adds up.
It's about showing them how much this issue matters to you.
And it's not just about voicing your opinion, it's about staying informed.
Right. Keep learning. Keep asking questions.
And have those conversations with your elected officials and your community members.
It's a conversation that deserves everyone's attention.
Absolutely. And we've given you the information and the tools to get involved. So we encourage you to keep researching and forming your own opinion.
Exactly. This is about empowering yourselves to make informed decisions. All right. So as we wrap up our deep dive into what's going on with cannabis in Kentucky, I'm really curious what has stood out to you the most from everything we've talked about.
Yeah, it's been a lot to unpack for sure.
It really has.
You know, for me, what's really striking is how we're seeing all these different things coming together at once in Kentucky. Like you've got this shift in public opinion happening,
Yeah.
and you've got this super dedicated advocacy group, the KCFC, really pushing for change.
They're awesome.
They really are. And then on top of that, you've got this real potential for economic and social benefits for the entire state.
It's like all the stars are aligning.
Yeah, it really feels like Kentucky's at a turning point.
It's exciting. And While we've been focusing a lot on the potential positive impacts of HB 105, we should also acknowledge that this is a complicated issue with valid concerns on all sides.
Oh, absolutely. You've got to consider things like public health, road safety, youth access, and how all of this would be regulated.
Right. It's not just a simple yes or no kind of thing.
It's about having those tough conversations, weighing the pros and cons, and figuring out what kind of future Kentuckians want for their state.
Exactly. And that's why citizen engagement is so important.
Absolutely. It's not just about calling your legislators, it's about talking to your neighbors, your friends, your family,
Right. Having those open and honest conversations about what this all means.
and working together to create policies that actually reflect the values and needs of Kentucky residents.
Okay. So for anyone who might have missed a few things along the way, let's do a super quick recap here. We're talking about HB 105, a bill that could potentially allow Kentuckians to vote on decriminalizing cannabis.
And remember, the most effective way to make your voice heard on this issue is to contact your Republican legislators and tell them to support and co-sponsor HB 105.
That's right. Call that legislative hotline at 1-800-372-7181.
Make those calls.
Twice a day, Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Every call makes a difference.
And don't forget, you can also find your representative's contact information online through the Legislative Research Commission if you need it.
Super easy. So if we take a step back and look at the bigger picture here, Kentucky has a real chance to be a leader in this whole movement for cannabis reform that's sweeping the nation.
That's an exciting time.
It really is. And for all of you listening in Kentucky right now, the future of this issue is really in your hands.
Make your voices heard.
That's right. Speak up, get involved, and help shape the future of your state.
And as you continue to learn about this issue, I'll leave you with one final thought. If Kentucky does decide to decriminalize cannabis, what kind of impact do you think that will have on the state?
What kind of economic and social changes might we see?
How will this decision affect different communities across Kentucky?
It's definitely something to think about.
It's a complex issue with a lot of different angles, and it's going to be fascinating to see how it all plays out.
Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive. We've given you the information, the resources, and hopefully the inspiration to get involved.
Now it's your turn. Keep learning, keep asking questions, and keep diving deep into the issues that matter most to you.
We'll see you next time for another deep dive.
All right. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Robert, can you hear me?
Hello, everybody.
All right. Robert, you want to introduce yourself while I get our slides ready?
Sure. Good morning, everybody. I'm Robert Matheny. I own Kentucky CBD Pharmacy. I'm also a board member to Kentucky Cannabis Freedom Coalition and a board member to the Kentucky Hemp Association. I'm trying to be the binder here that unites these two industries because there is division in the industries, and I'm here to make sure we know we're talking about the same plant. Patrick?
All right. So we're going to go over a couple ways you all can help us change the cannabis laws in the state. All right. If we go too fast, you're welcome to ask us to slow down. And like I said, we are going to have a question and answer at the end. So hold off on your questions, or if you want to add them to the chat, we'll try to monitor the chat as well. The people that are on Facebook, we want to welcome them. All right. If you have questions, we will try to reply to those after the meeting. So with that, let's get into this. Let's see here. Before we go any further, I want to actually recognize our sponsors, KYCBD Pharmacy, which is Robert, right? Kentucky Medical Marijuana Center, right? 502 Hemp, the Medical Cannabis Clinic of Kentucky, One Love Hemp Dispensary, Bluegrass Therapeutical Cannabis, and Lucky Leaf Expo. These organizations actually support what we're doing in the state. So if you know these organizations, reach out to them and say thank you. We appreciate them sponsoring us. Which brings me to my next point. We have a referral program. So if you visit a cannabis dispensary or CBD shop or anything of the sort in the state, and you want them to support us, send them our way. And if they sponsor us at a platinum level, we'll actually give you $50 just for you to helping us out, spread the word. It's just all about teamwork. You can go to legalizekentucky.com/referral program for any questions. Now, let's do some updates real quick before we get into our slides. On March the 4th, 2025, we are going to have our lobby day. We are going to have room 171 reserved for a whole hour. For the first 15 minutes, we're going to let people have time to come in, and then 30 minutes we'll do a little discussion. And then after that, we will disperse and you go to your Kentucky legislator and tell them to support our bills. We will provide you all of the material. We'll even provide you with a button, right, showing our appreciation. Right now, with that said, you're required to actually reach out to your legislator and set up that meeting for March the 4th. Okay, it's just really prior to March the 4th because it's really difficult to call all those legislators. So we ask that you, if you're going to attend, please reach out to your legislator and tell them set up a meeting. Okay, and if you need us to join you at that meeting, we will gladly join you if we are available. Okay, good, Robert? You want to add anything?
Absolutely.
Perfect. All right, next thing. I want to talk about Lucky Leaf Expo. Lucky Leaf Expo, which is on May the 30th and 31st. All right, this is a bunch of vendors that are going to be there that are in the cannabis industry right now in other states and other fields. Okay, because Kentucky has now medical cannabis, these vendors are allowed to be there. They're all practicing their First Amendment right. We are going to have a booth there. All right, so will you please come visit us at our booth? If you show up, right, there's a 25% discount code called KCFC 25. All right, we will also be speaking at this event as well. So we're very thankful for Lucky Leaf to give us this opportunity to be speaking. Next, we're going to talk about our 420 events. We actually have two 420 events going on. We've got this one, which is our buttons. We're actually selling our little buttons. They're only $5. We're asking that you all purchase them for $5, wear them on 420, show that you support our cause. Take a picture, right? Send it to us, right? And we'll let people know that you support our cause. There is another event, and I'm going to let Robert talk about this on 419.
Hey, everybody. We're doing our 420 celebration down in Nicholasville, Kentucky. It's on Highway 27. It'll be on 419, considering 420 is on Easter Sunday, and we'd actually like to have people turn out. So we're going to have a good time. There's going to be food trucks. There's going to be entertainment. There's going to be small business vendors as well as other cannabis related booths that will be there. They're invited. I hope they come up. But that's what we're doing there.
Okay,
Look
and
forward to it, and I hope to see you all there.
who's playing? Who's playing? Who's the band? What's his name?
Daniel Kane.
Okay.
He's an upcomer. He's over in England right now performing, but he's going to be back in the U.S. just in time for 420 before he starts his tour in the U.S. So he ain't no little name. He's going to be a big one. I'd love to have y'all come out.
Yeah, we're excited. We would love to have everybody show up. It's going to be a nice time, a nice event. All right. So next, we're talking about we are actually setting up a booth at the Shepherdsville Flea Market for the next 2 months. My apologies, we weren't able to go this weekend because of illness and the weather, but we will be there next week, educating people about our buttons, or educating people about our bills and selling our buttons.
As long as the weather holds up for us to get there.
As long as the weather holds up for us to get there. So if you're anywhere near Shepherdsville, please come out and visit us. All right. Now, these are the bills that we are focusing on at this moment in time, right? We want you to contact your legislator and tell them that you do not support these bills or you support them. The first one is HB 34, which we ask that you say no on. It will make people using full spectrum CBD products driving impaired. Robert, you want to add to that?
No matter if you simply consume regular full spectrum CBD products, just the minimum amount of THC, it would still show the amount of nanograms in your blood to be considered for DUI. So we need to protect everybody because full spectrum CBD is super beneficial. It is used by the very young to the very old. That little bit of THC is non-euphoric, but is extremely beneficial. And if we're helping people with anxiety issues, PTSD issues, and then they get charged DUI for taking a medicine that helps them, that's a failure on the people's part. We got to prevent these laws from happening.
Okay.
A quick question. When do we vote on those bills?
We don't. That's the problem. And see, that's a lot of what we're dealing with right now. I didn't actually see who made that comment, but I'll use that as a bounce off. So we've got our bill introduced in Frankfurt right now. Nima Kulkarni introduced this bill in the House. So what that means is, well, let me back up a little bit. Every representative this session has been told they can introduce 5 bills. 5 total bills is what they can introduce. And Patrick says, well, Patrick has the exact number, but it's 130 something representatives that are then allowed to introduce 5 bills. Keep in mind, that's a lot of bills. This is also a short session, which means there's only 30 days total in the lawmaking session. That session runs from the beginning of January to the end of March, specific days. Total of 30 days in there. So we've got to be able to focus on which bills we want through. They have to be able to focus on which bills they want through, which bills they don't. And we have to influence them on which bills they want to see put into a committee and voted on. So that's why we're always asking for help and for people to get involved, because our legislators have to hear from us in order to say, hey, we've got a lot of support for HB 34, or we've got a lot of hate for HB 34. Same thing with our bill, HB 105. This is a constitutional amendment. This should be top of the news stories. I mean, this is a huge thing for Kentucky. Every Kentuckian would admit that, whether they're pro cannabis or against that. This is their right to vote on cannabis. So what we need is people to actually get involved and message the LRC hotline and tell them what you want them to support. That way, when they go into these committee meetings, they know what we're wanting them to do. So we've hired these people to represent us. We have to tell them how to represent us, and that's what all this is about. But the bills, very specifically, HB 34 is garbage, and it's a tool used to criminalize Kentuckians further. HB 62, it helps. HB 11, which is the bill that none of you voted on either. It was the vape bill. That vape bill passed through. Now, the person or the entity that pushed this bill the most is Philip Morris, and that's cigarette manufacturer, we all know. This manufacturer was able to influence legislation to ban all vapes except their vapes using their science. And you all didn't have an opinion in it. You didn't know about it. There wasn't anybody there screaming, we need your help. That's what we're doing now. We're screaming, we need your help. We have to prevent these laws from being brought through and wasting our time in government. HB 106, I've bounced all around this little graphic, but HB 106 is just a better, more thoroughly written version of 105 that explains it in detail, and it goes into the expungement part, which is essential in any kind of cannabis freedom reform. It also allows a home grow. That's a huge thing that most Kentuckians want if they're pro cannabis. That's in this bill. That's what we're doing. So these handful of bills that you see on this graphic, believe me when I say this is just a drop in the bucket. There are currently bills going through Frankfurt right now to further ban the currently legal hemp products that we have. And keep in mind, the Delta 9 THC in these hemp products is the exact same Delta 9 THC in the medical marijuana program that they're selling us. There is no strength difference. I've got all kind of videos. You're welcome to look on that. But we really got to pay attention to what's happening in Frankfurt, because if we allow them to pass small little laws and we concede to these little things that they want us to concede to, they're just basically building a brick wall against cannabis reform for us. So we got to be involved and we got to be part of this. It can't just be a couple people screaming, this isn't right, you all are getting screwed over. We need everybody understanding we're screaming this to protect you. We don't care if you're red, we don't care if you're blue, we don't care how you voted. We care that you have your rights in this state, because we know what this plan is capable of. So that's part of my rant. I'll get back to it. Patrick?
Well, what I would add to HB 105 and HB 106 as well is it will allow you to carry up to an ounce of cannabis on you anywhere in the state of Kentucky. Now, we understand that 5 plants will yield more than an ounce, but we're talking about personal use. In the city of Louisville, you're allowed to carry a half an ounce. That's under ordinance. What's good for the goose is good for the gander in my eyes. It's just that simple. And the reason I say that this will address the Second Amendment right, because you will, if you're a medical patient and you want to take advantage of the medical program, right? But you can't do that because you're scared you're going to lose your guns. Well, if it's decriminalized, it's no longer an issue for you. You just continue getting your medicine how you normally do. It's that simple. All right. And the federal government has basically canceled their hearing on descheduling cannabis to a 3. We have, as soon as I hear anything changing, we will definitely let everybody know that. So we're going to go over a couple slides. I'm going to talk about how you can help change the cannabis laws in Kentucky. Whether you're passionate about the social, medical, economic benefits of cannabis legalization, there are several impactful steps you can take to contribute to this cause. Let's see here. Give me 1 minute here. I've got somebody coming in here. Number 1, educate yourself and others. First and foremost, knowledge is power. Begin by educating yourself about the current cannabis laws in Kentucky. Understand the benefits and risks associated with cannabis use, as well as a broader social and economic impact of legalization. Once you have gathered this information, share it with your friends and family and community. Building a well-informed support base can make a significant difference in promoting change. We are focused on HB 105 and HB 106. That's our bills. There is another bill. There's 2 other bills in the Senate that says the same thing from my legislator, David Gates, which is really weird. We're trying to get him to recall that bill and match it to this bill so we can have a companion bill. Okay. Number 2, go for it, Robert.
Patrick, we had a question I want to get to real quick. What committee was we assigned? Just so I can finish typing that.
We were actually assigned, the HB 105 was assigned to the Constitutional Amendment Committee, all right? And something, you can actually go to the LRC's website and break down the committees. HB 106 was assigned to the Judiciary Committee.
Okay. All right, I just wanted a quick action on that, so
Yeah.
I didn't lose it. Number
So-
2, engaging in advocacy. That's exactly what we're doing right now. We're making our voices heard in a public fashion. Engaging in advocacy is a crucial step. Join local or national advocacy groups that are dedicated to cannabis law reform. These organizations they often provide resources, run campaigns, and host events where you can participate to amplify your voice, just like we're doing with our lobby days. By becoming an active member, you can create a collaborative push for change that is far more effective than going it alone. And I want to add, the advocacy days are huge. That is a time when people that are at the very end of their wit can say, okay, I have a group of people I can go stand with, and I can have that anonymity. I don't have to be that single person going there alone. Because I'll tell you, I remember being that single person going there alone. I had just watched my mother starve to death, and I was very angry, and I wanted to know why they're ignoring these things. But whenever I stepped into that Capitol, first off, that's the first time I'd stepped into the Capitol as an adult. I wasn't involved in any kind of law, anything. And it's intimidating. You don't know where to go. It's a huge building. When I walked in, the only people I seen there were the mothers of sick children and veterans that were asking for something other than suicide in a bottle. And it let me know, I'm able-bodied. I'm a strong person, or I like to think I am. I can go stand for these people. My mother was gone. I was ready to just go raise hell. There's nothing I could have done to bring my mom back. But then I seen these people there that were begging for help and being ignored. I mean, the legislators, they'll look you in the face. They'll say what you want to say. They'll get that handshake. Then they walk away and you're forgotten. That's what we're here to stop. We're here to make sure these people get heard. As I started out, I was a medical marijuana advocate. Patrick helped pen HB 136, and that's the medical bill that Kentuckians have heard about for all these years. I personally pulled my support from that bill about 3 years ago, I believe, and I did it publicly. I pulled my support because it was amended 47 times. 47 times somebody had to concede something in this bill to accommodate a legislator that doesn't know shit about cannabis or its benefits. And we need to stop that. We need people that know what they're talking about there put on these committees, because I don't know any of the advocates on any of these professional medical cannabis committees, and trust me, I applied. I've got an application. I didn't ever expect to get chosen because I'm not one to concede anything. I know what's right and I'm going to stand there for it. And that's what we're here for. This group and Patrick gave me that ability. So we're inviting you. Please join us.
All
Patrick?
right. Number 3, contact your representative. Your voice matters, especially when reaching out to your elected officials. Contact your local, state, federal representative to express your support for cannabis law reform. Writing letters, making phone calls, or attending town hall meetings are all effective ways to communicate your stance. Share personal stories and well-researched arguments can have significant impact on your representative's perspective. Your Kentucky legislator's telephone number is 1-800-372-7181. I've got that memorized. Save it in your phone, contact your legislator, tell them you support HB 105, HB 106. We have now got one representative has signed on to HB 105, and then 2 representatives signed on to HB 106. They are Democrats, and I appreciate them signing on to it, but we need a Republican. The Republicans have turned this into a Republican issue, period. This is a bipartisan issue by far, right? Republicans should be on this like it ain't nothing, right? Because it's a constitutional issue. So if you voted for Republican, I'm asking you please to reach out to your Republican legislator and ask them to support this bill.
Regardless if you voted for him or not,
Yeah.
if your representative is a Republican.
Yes, exactly. All right, so number 4, Robert.
On that, I actually contacted my representative and I worded a very good email. And her only response to me was, I don't support marijuana. So that's something we've got to address and deal with. If your representative doesn't support what you're asking them to, get it in writing. That way, you know it's there. They know they had to tell you no. But carrying on, support pro-cannabis legislation. Stay informed about upcoming bills and initiatives related to cannabis. When election time comes, make sure to vote in favor of pro-cannabis measures and encourage others to do the same. Your vote is a powerful tool that can help shape policies and laws in Kentucky. Keep an eye on legislative developments to ensure you're ready to support initiatives that align with your views. Our bill is HB 105, and there's the link to it there. But it's very important. Just you're not going to hear bills that benefit you advertised on TV. You're not going to hear it spoke about a whole lot. Just like this one, you've not heard one word about it. You've not heard much about banning or prohibiting cannabis products in Kentucky through the hemp program. They don't want you to know about the things they want to push through. So you have to dig a little deeper sometimes. Patrick?
That's what we try to do. We try to bring all these bills to light and make sure that they are all given the given attention to for everybody. Make sure that this is done right for the state, for all Kentuckians. All right. So when we hear of a bill, or if you hear of a bill or something that we don't know about, because we can't see it all. So I mean, this is a teamwork kind of this is a teamwork kind of thing. So feel free to let us be aware of anything that's going on. Number 5, participating in public demonstrations. Finally, show your support by attending rallies, marches, and other public demonstrations that advocate for cannabis legalization. These events not only serve as a show of solidarity, but they also help raise public awareness and put pressure on policymakers to consider reform. Joining others in public demonstration can amplify the message that cannabis law reform is a priority for Kentuckians. March the 4th, Monday, March the 4th at 10:30, be in Frankfort. Contact your legislator to set up a meeting. All right, this is exactly what this particular slide is referring to. We have that room. I'd like to see that room full, and I think it could hold up to 50 people, I believe. At least 50 people. So everyone's welcome. If you show up, you get a button, and we will make sure that you're informed exactly what to say. Number 6, Robert.
Beautiful. Back to what Patrick was saying on number 5. We need you to call 1-800-372-7181. That's the LRC hotline, and request a meeting with your representative for that day, March 4th. That way it's on the books. You're scheduled to be there. You come to us, and if you have any hesitation at all going to speak to a representative, that's what we're there for. We're there to help load your lips. We're there to walk you hand in hand if needed. That's what we're there for, is to make it a more comfortable and easy thing for you to do, because using your voice that first time is very scary, and I understand that personally. So that's what this is all about. Also, we mentioned staying on top of bills that are coming up. I did, again, I had a very late night and I'm about half asleep right now anyway. But I caught wind of a hemp beverage bill yesterday. I've heard talks of it. It's been going back and forth, but it's getting a lot more real now. So anybody that knows anything about our hemp market right now in Kentucky knows that Delta-9 THC, the real THC, is legally available right now under the hemp program in very strong doses. And we've got liquids and sodas and stuff like that that are extremely strong Delta-9 THC. Well, they're trying to pass a bill right now, and it's getting a lot of traction because this is something that restricts Kentuckians. They're wanting to put a THC cap on hemp beverages and put it in the control of the ABC. That's not what we're trying to do. Again, I do not concede to anything. Now, they would prefer it be limited to 5 milligrams of THC per drink, per serving.
Okay,
And
when you
we
mean,
put it at 25. But the simple part of that is they are going ahead with these bills and you don't know anything about them. So whenever we put stuff up like this, make sure you're paying attention to what we're saying, because it's vital to stop these bills from going through, because this is basically the beginning of the re-prohibition of cannabis in Kentucky, and nobody knows it's happening. So Charles, let me read this, Charles, and then we'll get to the questions, okay? Please don't lose it though.
no, I only had one about the cap, one very short one.
Okay, go.
When you said cap, you meant a measurable milligram cap.
Total THC, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because like the sodas in Liquor Barn right now, they're 5 milligram THC. They're real THC, y'all. I mean, they've
Yeah.
convinced everybody, including activists, that it is diet weed. It is a molecule. You cannot get smaller and more perfect than a molecule. And the Delta-9 tetrahydrocannabinol oil molecule is the one commonly known as medical marijuana, or THC, through people. But I'm gonna move ahead. 6, contact media. An important step in raising awareness about cannabis law reform is to connect with your media. Reach out to newspapers, radio stations, and television channels to share information about the bill and its significance. Ask them to report on the current state of cannabis laws in Kentucky and the potential benefits of reform. By getting media coverage, you can help inform a wider audience and generate public interest, which can put additional pressure on lawmakers to take action. Engaging the media can amplify your message and increase the chances of positive change. Now, my request to all of you, contact media. Yes, it is very important, because we have to reach out to our local media and let them know what we want to view. But I'm going to ask everybody here to reach out to your media station and ask your media station to contact KCFC to cover all the cannabis bills in one big story or one interview that can bring light to everything that's happening in cannabis in Kentucky. Because I'll tell you, there are dozens of laws, little micro laws, that are going to be presented and passed. We have to be on top of all of them. But reach out to your local media, reach out to your national media if your local media isn't responding, and they may not. So keep reaching out to media and let them know what you want to see and what you want in Kentucky. If you wanted cannabis decriminalization and they only gave you the strictest medical cannabis program in America, you need to say something about it, because both them bills were in Frankfurt at the exact same time last session when it passed. Contact your media. You don't have to get upset to contact them. You do have to be informed to contact them. So reach out to media and ask for help. It'll help put pressure on the lawmakers. If it's in the media, they have to address it. So that's why we're saying aim for the media. All right, Patrick.
All right. So in conclusion, by taking these steps, you contribute to an ongoing efforts to change the cannabis laws and help create a more informed and equality society. For more information, you can visit legalizekentucky.com. Together, we can make a difference. Thank you for your attention. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and stop sharing this real quick. Let's see here. See, I'll pull this up real quick. All right, who do you have online? We've got 9 people here. Let's see.
Yep.
What you got? All right, so we've got about 15 minutes. We'll gladly answer any questions that we could possibly answer.
I'm trying to right now.
Okay.
I'm gonna stop spell checking just to save time. So good luck with that, everybody. Let's see. Let's see.
Okay, my
Christopher
wife,
Greco.
go ahead.
Oh, no, you go ahead.
All right, Jennifer just said, if you all do make a meeting with your legislator on the 4th, please reach out to us and let us know about the meeting, please.
So that we can know how many packets to make and
And
we
such.
know approximately how many people are gonna be showing up that day.
Yeah,
So we have a number count, and so that us as board members can spread ourselves between your all's meetings if necessary as well.
go ahead, Robert.
I'm just trying to answer questions on here. So if I've missed any at the end of this, I'll try to get to them just so everybody knows. But yeah, I'm checking out the messages here. That's all I'm doing for now.
Anybody else want to have any other questions? We've got a couple more minutes. We'll gladly talk.
14, 15
Rick,
minutes.
you there?
Yes, sir. How y'all doing
Rick will
today?
say,
Good morning.
Yeah, I'm
sir.
here.
Hey, I'm glad I made the meeting on time today. I've been out shoveling snow for all my neighbor ladies. Just here, sitting here, drinking me a cup of hot mint tea. Want to give you an update. Last meeting, I promised y'all I'd go up, talk with the Americans for Prosperity up in Indianapolis.
Yes, sir.
Well, boy, hate to bring bad news. As soon as I got to the State House, Jack and Lucy was there, and they told me that they'd already spoke with the people from Americans for Prosperity, and that they would not be discussing anything concerning cannabis that day. And we were very, very disappointed. On the way out, we had the opportunity to talk with Representative Van Natter from up here in Indiana, and he just pretty much let us know that really nothing was going to happen on the decriminalization. Which we're all very, very disappointed without a doubt. They are trying to push a new bill up here, folks. It may affect y'all down in Kentucky also here around the
Yep.
corner. They are trying to bring in a law here concerning driving while intoxicated under the influence of cannabinoids. They've already got one unit in operation up here. It's called Sotoxa. I don't know if y'all are familiar with that or not. It has 6 different chemicals, fentanyl, cocaine, methamphetamine, heroin, marijuana. Down here in Lawrence County, we've been noticing they'll pull somebody over for a seatbelt violation, a turn signal, a headlight, and the next thing you know, they're getting a Sotoxa test. Right in Indiana right now, any amount of marijuana in your system, you can automatically go to jail. They want to redo the law to where there's perimeters on it. They feel that's going to help in the legalization part because they don't want to legalize it. And like the one representative said, well, we don't want to legalize it and have a bunch of stoners out on the road, police have problems. So they're wanting to set up some kind of mechanism right in there. And one of the new units that come out, I wanted to mention, it's called a Draeger unit. Here in Indiana, I think they're going to push for 4 or 5 nanograms.
Yeah.
Don't want to spend a lot of time on science and everything. Robert, that's more down your area right there, scientific part of it. But yes,
That's exactly what I was talking about earlier, Hippie Rick. It's here right now.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. It looks like Indiana, we got the same situation here with the Republicans. Looks like they're going to turn this into a law enforcement situation. See, right now, Indiana, we're the only one that's not legal. Well, we have legal hemp from the Farm Bill, but, Illinois, Michigan, Ohio, even Kentucky, even you folks got your medical marijuana down there. We don't have that up here yet. And what they're saying, we have so many people going to Michigan, Illinois, Ohio right now. I believe the police, they're going to just start pulling people over, coming in and going, and that looks like a money gold mine for them. What I've been noticing, yes, there's several counties here in Indiana. They plan on building brand new jail cells, and all of them are going to have over 500 beds. Every one of them is increasing their capacity. Here we're fighting for decriminalization, and they're just continue wanting to make that a money operation.
And our silence will allow it, Rick. So I appreciate your voice, buddy. Everything you're dealing with up there, we're dealing with down here. You had mentioned the hemp-derived cannabinoids.
Mhm.
We all have to really pay attention to this because it's not on the news.
Oh, no,
In
very, very seldom.
2018, when we had this hemp bill passed, this industry has progressed greatly since then. It was very strict. We was losing a lot of farmers to suicide because their whole farms and livelihoods were being plowed under because
Yeah,
of a little
tobacco.
bit of THC too high in their field. Well,
Oh,
as this
yes, yes,
industries went along, we figured out, actually, that first year, our state decided they could go into all these farmers and rather than plow their whole fields under, they could remediate out that old nasty Delta 9 THC that was growing too strong in that plant. And they could give them
yes.
back CBD isolates. So the very beginning of the industry, THC was a big thing. As that progressed and these lawsuits got bigger and bigger, it was proven through many federal and state courts that that Delta 9 THC is legal because it was grown in hemp. Now, what that did is it proved that Delta 9 THC is first off the exact same thing and it's real, but it's
And
not
it's
what they're telling us. It's the same cannabinoid. And
Mhm.
when it's taken out and it's extracted, that's what we have. So originally our state went through and extracted a bunch of Delta 9 THC and held it for later in this program, and it's selling now. I mean, that's what we're seeing. And I didn't even understand that because I was part of the program and I was a marijuana person and I did not understand any of this at the time. But the lady that ran that hemp program, and it infuriated me when I heard it because, again, I am a marijuana advocate. She said, "We don't need medical marijuana when we have hemp." And when she said that, it infuriated me because I'd fought against that the whole time. And I've actually heard the person that's running this industry say those words out loud. But in retrospect, she knew exactly what she was doing. She had the insight to be able to invest in these other companies that sell Delta 9 THC legally in Kentucky. And trust me, them people made good money and still are right now.
Mhm.
It's the exact same
especially with
molecule.
those gummies.
If we allow them to re-prohibit these the cannabinoids, Delta 9 THC specifically, re-prohibition is so far beyond anything I thought I'd ever be thinking about in Kentucky or nationally. But they're doing it everywhere. My friends in Alabama Cannabis Freedom Coalition, they're
Mhm.
dealing with it too. They're going to take away all hemp-derived THC. That is literally the re-prohibition of cannabis. It's happening
Yes.
everywhere. Hippie Rick, I mean, you guys got hemp-derived THC up there right now. That is your 100% reason to have cannabis decriminalization. I don't know if you all have the ability to have the flower up there. Kentucky actually banned the flower in the beginning, which added
Yeah,
much more
flowers
to it.
banned here for time being in Indiana. They didn't want to bring out new testing equipment to tell the difference between actual marijuana and the hemp product.
Yep.
So yeah, they had several lawsuits on that. The Midwest Hemp Council, 3Chi, iNormal. There were several lawsuits. That was 2019 or so, right
Yeah.
back in that time period.
Yep.
Um, well, now last spring up here, our highly esteemed Attorney General Todd Rokita, this man, he went and sent all the prosecutors throughout the state of Indiana. We got 92 counties up here, and he sent them a letter, and he told them that he felt that hemp products were basically illegal, and he wanted the prosecutors to let all the local shop owners know in their counties that they need to
Yep.
shut down. Okay, now we had two or
Yep.
three counties up here a bit nibbled on that, but there's a lot of blowback on it. Yeah, they are really trying to do away with all the hemp products up here. I did have an opportunity to speak with one legislature. He didn't know what to say. He just let me know there was no way he would ever vote for cannabis legalization, decriminalization, anything along them lines. And I said, well, sir, then you're leaving me with the impression you're supporting the black market.
That's it. And I'll
He said,
tell you
well, I
one
didn't
thing I
say that. And
see.
I said, no, sir, but you're leaving me with that impression. You have to understand we have a lot of people in this state that need this as an alternative medicine right here, and folks, Robert, I spoke with you. My wife, Jerry, has fibromyalgia. I have a lot of family, loved ones, acquaintances, that use this alternative medicine right here. And when I was up at State House last year, I made the comment to them then. I was wanting to get out on the floor and have a talk. And I guess they're afraid I'm going to ruffle some feathers up here. But it's my firm opinion, folks, that any legislature that is going to turn down an alternative medicine that can help a human being, I think they need to get on their knees and pray.
One thing that just really gets me, and as I'm scrolling through social media, I see everybody doing their thing. So you're out drinking with friends, they hold up a beer. I've got friends that go get these medical infusions, which I'm not against. I am horrified of needles, so I'd never do it, but they get these health infusions and they'll post a picture of this IV bag, IV drip. Ladies and gentlemen, we got to break the stigma by being able to say these products help us. This is a cannabis product. My granny can use this. This is a hemp product. This is cannabis. Any way it goes, it helps. But people, we got to be able to break the stigma by saying we consume this, whether it's a topical or capital, it doesn't matter, and it isn't anybody's business. But that's what we choose, and we just got to let people know it's okay to do that, and it'll help break that stigma because a lot of people, including myself. So please keep in mind when I say this recognizing I did this myself. A lot of people will not stand up for this plant until they've got something recognizable in front of it that justifies it, just like medical cannabis. Use that medical word as a shield to protect yourself from all the stigma that would come from it. We do not have to do that. We should not have to seek a diagnosis to have this plant that was placed on this earth and is so beneficial. And
I
that's what
take
people need to understand.
the Rocket gummies and they have Delta 9 in it, and they help.
Yeah. Depending on, I mean, not even depending on, that Delta 9 molecule is the molecule we know as marijuana or medical cannabis or whatever you want to call it. Back in old books, that's what it was written as, is tetrahydrocannabinol oil Delta 9. And I remember reading about that in school. You can't hardly find that online anymore, by the way, since we've got all the Delta 9 products available. They're trying to disassociate Delta 9 with that. Because if you know it's here, you don't have to accept a strict medical program. It's here.
And you
Now, the difference in the products, and I have to explain this a few times in my store daily, but if you have a medical cannabis gummy and a hemp-derived Delta-9 THC gummy, they're molecularly identical. The only difference in them is that 0.03% dry weight that's written on all these hemp products. That says that you have to have a certain amount of THC and no more. So a lot of
Oh
people
no, I get
consider
mine
that.
from the gas station.
A lot of people think that doesn't mean that it has much THC in it, but by weight, and you have to have, I've actually had lawyers do this math product or problem. In a 3.5 gram gummy, you can fit up to 7.5 milligrams of Delta 9 THC. No CBD, just THC. So if you want a strong gummy, like a 30 milligram, which is very strong Delta 9 THC gummy, you have to have a gummy increase in size up to 17 grams to be able to hold that many milligrams. Keep in mind, it is the same milligram as the marijuana or the medical cannabis one. The gummy just doesn't have to get bigger. And Kentucky is limited to a 10 milligram Delta 9 THC dose in their medical program, just so we know. Per serving, 10 milligrams is the cap that was allowed.
Hippie Rick said something a minute ago about ruffling their feathers up at the Capitol. Don't worry about ruffling their feathers. We need to ruffle their feathers. We need to get this out in radio, newspapers, TV, at the Capitol. We need people to show up at the Capitol and ruffle some feathers, or nothing is going to happen. We're going to be sitting.
Anybody?
Backwards if we don't ruffle feathers. I'm not
Anybody
saying
that shows up,
crimes or be violent or anything like that, but you can ruffle feathers and get your point across at the same time.
Okay, go ahead, Robert.
Anybody that shows up there on this lobby day, I'm going to bring the coins that I have. I have specially minted coins, Kentucky CBD Pharmacy and Kentucky Cannabis Freedom Coalition. It's a 1 ounce copper coin. I don't have one here to show you, but I'm going to bring all of them with me. And everybody that I see until I run out, if you come up for our lobby day, I will give you a coin personally myself. Patrick has any left, he'll be giving them out too. We need an attendance there. We need to make people see that we need to make legislators see that Kentuckians are way past waiting on them to act.
Yeah.
And as Jennifer said, we're not there to be mean. We're not there to yell and scream. We're not those people. We're a
These are the ones
unified
I was
group
talking about.
of peaceful people here to free a plant. Yep. What strength is it?
It's
How many milligrams?
I don't know.
It's got to be on it somewhere legally.
It says must be 21.
Charles,
Well,
look what Charles got. Look
That's
at
the coin.
There's
There will be coins there at lobby days. It's a heavy little coin too.
That's what I was about to say.
Ingredients: corn syrup and cannabinoids.
It should say on the health information, it should say how many milligrams per serving, or on the front it should say how many milligrams is in the whole bag or how many milligrams is in per serving.
Yeah. And we should really normalize that when we're talking to people and we're even saying stuff online. I mean, calling it a regular cannabis product or calling my gummies, it isn't telling people what you're actually taking. It's okay to say what you're actually taking. I mean, if this is THC, if it's CBD, if it's a combo of both, if it's Delta 8, if you found a different cannabinoid combination that works for you, tell people about it, because that's how this industry will grow to help people. I mean, our sharing with each other on how to help each other,
And
that's what we do.
I think
Fine.
we'll
Just
find.
go.
I think a lot of people will find these gas station products and a lot of products in other places, and they say, "Well, what are we fighting for?" We found, we have what works super available. When I get gas, I can pick up my this.
Oh, it has 8 grams.
This just promises that these stay unchecked and unregulated. Like, this isn't going to be like food, a pharmaceutical. This is going to be like nothing. And it says this on the bottom of it, that these can be made by companies. And then what it says on the package, it isn't exactly checked and consistent every time. So another thing about these products that you're finding at the gas station, if it's a cannabis edible, I wouldn't exactly be trusting the consistency of it or the exact milligrammage of it.
It shows up in my drug test as Delta 9.
Yeah,
Oh,
and there's a difference, I'm sure, and I'm not saying that it's going to have like fentanyl in it or some other really bad thing, but just consistency and for like the exact science that you would expect behind dispensaries, and
Yeah.
not even all dispensaries or brands of cannabis, but trusted ones. That is the opposite end of this business, and that is just guaranteeing that it can stay like that, and just
Well, I'd heard
barely.
Oh yeah, I know the consistency ain't gonna be, all the time.
Well,
I heard something about drug testing earlier. I want to touch that. All these hemp derived products, they will show up if it's a full spectrum or Delta 9, Delta 8, Delta 10, Delta 11. They're not calling it THC, but these drug tests are very specific. So they are very specific on what they're searching for. They're not looking for CBD, they're looking for THC generally, and any amount of THC will pop a test. Hemp products are THC products also, so they'll absolutely ruin a drug test. I've seen a lot of people lose their medication, not from my store. We're very open about what this
Well,
is
they
and what
ask
it
me
does.
if it
But we've
helps, and
seen
I
a
tell
lot of
them
people lose their
somewhat helps.
medications because they didn't communicate with their doctor with what they was taking, or they didn't realize what they was taking was actually THC, which is again a failure on the Kentucky media for not letting people know these products are here and available now. that's the backlash reason. People take it and don't understand it and fail a drug test, or even worst case scenario, they take a gummy from a gas station, think, "Oh, let's try this," and they end up too high to drive or something like that. It's important we know what these things are. And the hemp industry, I'll tell you, the hemp industry, they've had the government's thumb on them this whole time. And the legitimate products, which you do have to search for, not all products are legit, but the legitimate products and the producers and the retailers, they've got some of the highest and best regulated products that I've ever seen as a cannabis consumer. And it's so far beyond me that we're sitting here still begging for cannabis decriminalization when I've had Delta 9 THC gummies legally for sale for years in the center of Kentucky. And we just need everybody to kind of come together. I see on my own social media a lot of the time, I get advocates fighting me. They're fighting me for saying we have THC now. I'll say it till I'm blue in the face, and I just ask them to prove me wrong, and they can't. But I digress. We've got some stuff to do. I need all of you in Frankfurt. I'd love to meet each and every one of you. I can't tell you how important all of this is. This is historical. This is Kentucky history that we're making now.
We'll look back
And
one day, y'all, and see this as like us few that are in here, and it'll be way bigger than it is now.
that's it. And
Well,
that's
But
it.
you said
It
you could
takes
help me with the getting it prescribed or whatever, because I don't know how to go about that. I mean, they've asked me if it helps. And I
Like
tell them it does, but I don't know if they're going to be like, maybe
after
we can just write them a script.
after
Well, what you got to do is you've got to be on the Kentucky Medical Cannabis website. This program, the medical card program, only covers 6 qualifying conditions. So you have to have one of those 6 qualifying conditions in order to qualify. You have to see a certified Kentucky medical cannabis doctor, which there's a list on the Kentucky MedCan website.
Okay.
And basically you just go in for an evaluation. And I'll tell you, a lot of them aren't legit. A lot of them are legit. So I'll just tell you the best way to make sure you get a card is if it's chronic pain, speak on chronic pain.
I have that.
That's
I have rods and plates in my spine.
you probably qualify. So just take and schedule with a medical doctor, and if needed, take your medical records there. If your doctors are not certified to do that, and find a different doctor, but take your medical records there and get an evaluation. And they can then tell you to go to the state website, enter this information, and they'll send you a card. Patrick's got a lot better information on that. That was just kind of the quick version, but
Yeah.
basically you got to start with finding the doctor.
All right, what I would say to that, Chris, right, is that you can go to the Kentucky Medical Marijuana website and search for your doctor. What part of Kentucky are you in,
I'm in Harlan.
Harlan? So you should be able to find a certified doctor there. Now, I will tell you,
I'm probably seeing one. I got a therapist, psychiatrist, and a doctor, and
right? Well,
back doctor, and
right. That's what I was getting
but
ready
I
to
could see
say.
if they're on the list.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Because if they're already on the list, then you're not really out any money. You're just a normal patient visit. If they're on that
Right.
list, that would be the first thing I would do. You will have if they're not on that list, you will have to pay out of pocket for their fees, right? And then you have to pay $25 to the state to get the card. Okay.
$25.74.
All right, so you can get all of that information at the Kentucky Medical Marijuana website, right? And it's make sure that you go by what they're saying. Now, what we're trying to do is we're trying to decriminalize it for all Kentuckians. So you
Right.
don't.
I understand that, and I agree with that fully.
So, all right. So with that, we have actually gone over our time. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and close this here, right, real quick. We repeat, we're gonna do this again on Wednesday night, Sunday morning, every week until the end of session. All right, so if you have a family member, friend, legislator, reporter that would like to join this meeting, we welcome everybody to this meeting. I would like, was it Hunter that said it? All right, I'd like to see 100 people in this room next Wednesday night. That'd be really cool. Okay.
Well, I've been a member of the group for a while, but this is my first time attending a meeting, and this has been insightful.
Well, we try our best. We try our best to take care of all
Thank you for
Kentucky.
coming.
Yeah, thank you for coming. We try our best to take care of all Kentuckians. We literally grew overnight by 300 people last night. I'm really thankful for everyone that's coming to our group and participating with our group because we could not make this happen without all of y'all. So, with that said, we will see you Wednesday night at 9:00. Sound
Okay.
like
See you
I'll try.
guys.
I'll try.
all right? If you can't understand this, we understand. Okay.
Yeah, I got doctor's appointments every day this week, so
Okay. Well, then we're gonna keep.
I got sleeping issues and all that, but I'll try to be here.
All right, sounds like a plan. You all have a good night, good day, okay? Stay
It's
warm.
been a great meeting. Everybody have a good one now.
You
Have-
too.